Show.
So are you going to let the boys know?
The boys don't need to be told. They know I'm not going anywhere. We've never had a discussion here at the club. Nothing's been driven from the club. It's all been driven by you guys on the outside that don't know what you're talking about.
What? And so you and your manager, no one's spoken to the
I don't have a manager, mate. I don't have management.
What?
Okay, I manage growing me, and I don't need someone to hold my hand for me.
So you haven't spoken to any other clubs, and you're 100% committed to Rabbitohs, which is good news.
You hard of hearing. I said the same things last week.
No, I'm good. I can hear.
Keep repeating myself because you guys make up the stories. You make the headlines, but I don't have to play your game, mate. I'm not going to continually have to get up and defend myself. I went through this rubbish at Brisbane for 12 months there, and they kept telling me I had a job there, and they sacked me.
Nude backgammon with swimsuit models.
G'day everybody, welcome to episode 217 of Not The Footy Show. I'm Warrick Nicolson. I didn't give him my name last week and people were pretty happy about that, especially the man across me. I think he's in Camden this week. That's the rumour. Via Lithgow, via Campbelltown. It's Mr. Robb Cox. How are you, sir?
Thanks, Warren Nichols. Yeah, I'm doing really well, man. Camden's beautiful this time of the year, as you know. It is Warren, right?
Yeah, something like that. That's the rumour anyway. Yeah, I went through the editing last week and went, Coxsmith and another player to be named later. That's pretty much what the podcast was last week, unless you're a regular listener and you've just gone, can you please not be on an episode? And one day I will step aside from this poison chalice, but it's not yet. Speaking of poison chalices, that's a really hard word to say back to back. Wayne Bennett, mate, he's not a happy camper, is he?
No, he's a little fired up, mate. Nice Zoom press conference today, and he was spitting fire and brimstone at some very dumb questions, or a dumb line of questioning anyway, by a few journalists.
Inane and vapid is the two words that I came up with for that. It was pretty ordinary. You've heard an intro bit. You'll hear another bit after we go to the break. But this podcast is going to be around 7 tips as we head into our 5th week after the resumption after COVID. And you'll get a bit of a view on what we thought about the football last weekend. And the main thing is, though, we're going to look at how the media is basically cooking up destinations deluxe for any coach with any credibility. I think there's up to 5 teams that are being linked to every player. I'm actually waiting for Wayne Bennett to be linked to the North Queensland Cowboy job. It may have happened within the last 20 minutes of me being on Twitter. We'll get back to Uncle Benny just losing it on Zoom this morning after the break here on Not The Footy Show.
Not The Footy Show.
Wayne, it's Sarah from 7. Just thinking about the Broncos and how passionate their fans are, given their recent results and their injuries, and knowing how passionate the fans are as well, do you really understand how much they're hurting at the moment?
Broncos got nothing to do with me.
Just knowing their fan support, though, do you kind of feel for those fans?
They've got enough people up there to be their spokesman. I'm coaching South Sydney.
You know them pretty well, though, and you were there for such a long time.
So
you don't feel for those fans or those supporters?
Look, I'm not here to express my feelings about the Broncos or any other club. I'm talking about South Sydney. If you want to talk about that, that's fine. Fans are happy. I think they're pretty pleased with what their team's doing, and that's my number one priority.
Can I ask you about Fafita and how much you had to do with him? Did you ever expect him to be running in such an elite circle as $1 million player?
Look, the other questions you got to ask the Broncos, not questions for me.
I guess it's just hard though, because you know so much about them. You're entitled to an opinion because you have spent so much time with them. So it is an informed opinion.
Haven't you noticed I don't want to express that opinion?
That's a good one, Uncle Benny.
Okay, we're back. It's episode 217. Robb Cox over there, Warrick Nicolson here, and angry Wayne Bennett on the Zoom. Now, what I love about this press conference this morning, the Bunnies have put it on the website. They probably sent it out to all the media organisations, etc. But Zoom did not let South Sydney down here. They captured every beautiful, tasty morsel of Wayne Bennett tearing a bunch of reporters a new one this morning. I've sent it to you this afternoon, Coxsmith. How good was it?
Oh, mate, he can be quite grumpy, can't he, when he wants to be? the great coach.
Mm.
No, I thought he, he didn't want to talk about the Broncos, and probably rightfully so. He's no longer there. He can't give an up-to-date view, and he doesn't feel like giving a view on it. So I suggest, too bad. Stop badgering him. Didn't like it at all, did he?
He didn't appreciate the fact that the opening question, which I think was a journo from Channel 9, which was, you were quoted in the paper saying you have no interest in leaving the Bunnies and you're going to see out your contract. Do you want to put that to bed? And he's like, I spoke to you last week about it, you idiot. It just got off to such a beautiful opening. And he just went on to just go crazy for the next 3 minutes. And I just love the honesty. Look, yeah, okay, it maybe wasn't the most professional way of handling the same questions that you're going to get every single time anyone links you to go anywhere. But in some respects, he's earned that right to be able to go, my runs are on the board. I've given you my answer 2 weeks ago. You didn't listen. I'm going to let you have it. And it was refreshing. It was the first press conference I've watched end to end this season. And you've seen a bunch of press conferences yourself, Coxsmith. They're not exactly the most engaging and, shall we say, enlightening efforts that you've ever seen with players, let alone coaches, most of the time.
No, mate, they're normally dry as just boring, inane questions by desperate journo looking to fill some page space. Look, I enjoyed today's one. I thought it was great. I like seeing a coach stand up and defend himself and put the journos in their place. All it will mean now, though, is that they'll all try and trigger him again, just for, I don't know, a grab or a clickbait item.
I feel sorry for Bennett in some respects, because they're the first game off the cab off the rank this weekend. They got Penrith, so it'll be, if they lose, it's just going to be massively the first thing that they ask. You can't get it done at South, so who are you going to go to? The Telegraph feel the best at this, along with Fox Sports and Herald now that they've been owned by Channel 9. But essentially, the stories that have happened in the last 2 weeks, Bellamy to Belmore, and I've got to get to what was in the article that was published by News Corp. So the article was written, I think it was Dean Ritchie, and he's come out with Bellamy to Belmore. They're preparing a massive offer to get the super coach up to take over for Dean Pay. And then in the middle of the article, there is this one sentence, which there's two sentences I love, but this one, the one I love the most. It says, it's halfway through the article saying Bellamy to Belmore. There is no suggestion an offer has been made or that Bellamy wants to leave Melbourne. This is within an article that headline is Bellamy to Belmore.
So they're covering their bum by saying this all could be a fabrication.
But that's what they've been doing. Anytime a player is off contract, the war chest at Canterbury's coming out. Like, I know Andrew Hill, who's the CEO of the Bulldogs. I feel so sorry for him. I'm almost compelled to go, mate, send him a message and say, look, I just can't believe what you're going to go through. Deal with it. But, it's not important that I do that. But fair dinkum. I hope his mates are just trying to keep him a little bit sane, because some of the stuff that's going around is just ridiculous. And it's just lazy. And this is, to have a line like that, there is no suggestion an offer has been made. Bellamy to Belmore, it doesn't stack up. It got the clicks. There's no doubt it got the clicks. And there was another line there, which I love, which is, Bellamy could be one of 12 candidates Bellamy could be one of the 12 candidates the club would sound out. Not will sound out, would sound out. And so now Bennett's been thrown amongst the wolves with all this stuff, and they managed to get Damien Cook, and you referenced it in the press conference, to say something that sounded like that Bennett was going to leave. And Bennett's been open. He said, look, at this stage, I'm seeing it out. And yes, okay, his time at South has been cut short because they're going to get Demetrio in after the next season. But the fact is, he knew it was probably going to be a shorter-term deal when he went to South. He's got a team that, look, if a couple of teams fall over, they're good enough to possibly win a competition. I just found the whole thing just tone deaf and really systematic of where rugby league media is sort of going. And you've seen it as well, mate, that there's jobs akimbo being lost in this area. AAP was under threat there for a long time, and they're the ones that actually went to these press conferences and then turned the actual fodder in for everybody who's jumping on the sensationalistic stuff. And the last question that came out, which was around Fafita and whether he's worth $1 million, and does Bennett have an educated opinion on it? I really struggled with it. And it all comes back to there's no accountability on how you frame a story now. and that's so disappointing. And I don't know. I just thought you'd hold yourself to a higher regard. And I'm not just talking about the journos here. I'm talking about the news organisations who are actively seeking this kind of content because they know at this stage it's their best window to clicks. And I'm thinking, sorry to bring what I've done in the past. You don't have to do that to get an audience. You just don't have to do it. You can just create good content, and believe it or not, people actually like that stuff. It's a strange concept, but it's doable. Anyway, anything else to add on this before I?
No, mate, not really, mate. Let's sink that ship, eh?
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to move off Bellamy to whoever, Benny to whoever, and whoever. Stephen Kearney, unfortunately, gone from his role at the Warriors, although the feeling definitely was that it should happen last year. I still can't believe the Warriors got rid of Sean Johnson after they had finished 8th in a competition where they win one more game and they finish 4th. That decision still baffles my brain and whatever. Speaking of other things that baffled my brain during the week, Coxsmith, not so much baffled, but I guess the time frame that was put around it. Brisbane's second team, it's coming. PVL has categorically stated there will be a second team in Brisbane. It'll be the next expansion team, the 17th team in Rugby League. But my question to you, sir, when the heck will it happen?
2022.
You reckon that early?
Yeah. Yeah. PVL's a man of action, mate. He deeds, not words, too much. I reckon 2022, if not the very latest 2023. But I think it's going to happen sooner rather than later. I'm still weirded out by the possibility of buy rounds, to be honest with you.
Yeah, great.
It doesn't achieve anything. 17 number doesn't achieve anything for the broadcast because there's no extra games per week. I would have thought 18. Then we start talking about we're a little thin on cattle to have 18 NRL teams. There's quite a few players in England. I know that there's some older players in England, but there's quite a few players in England that could come back and fill a few spots for a couple of years while they get the development in place. But still, I think 2022, 2023 at the max. And then I really think that quite quickly followed on the heels of that will be an 18th team, just so that they can get that extra, the extra game in, which will add more value for the broadcast.
Now, listeners of this show generally hear us agree with each other. This ain't going to happen now. 3 months ago, Rugby League was on its knees. It was mostly dead, to coin a great phrase from The Princess Bride.
There's a big difference between mostly dead and all dead.
And PVL was hand out, we need money, I need a new TV deal. And now we're talking about an expansion team without a new TV deal that will necessarily include that extra team, especially if we went to 18. Quite frankly, I can't see it happening till at least the end of the next TV rights deal, which is 2027. I'm thinking more like 2030. And the reason that I'm putting it out here, 17 teams makes no sense. Something Phil Gould's been huge on of late is bashing down the door of why the heck did we get rid of the under-20s competition. And I think he's spot on here because we don't have that level of talent coming through en masse like we did as a result of that. No, it wasn't everybody's cup of tea, but I saw what they were trying to do with that. It was trying to put the onus on clubs to pull in players that were good enough to fill those teams. And if you try and expand to 17, it's going to be a struggle. You try and expand to 18, it's going to be a real struggle. They need 10 years, I think, to build back up that junior system, especially after we've just lost a year of development, really, this year with the junior systems. I don't see the value in going to a 17th team, A, for the buy, but B, within the next 5 years. I just think it's a massive mistake. I have actually, this afternoon, recorded a video on what I think the name should be, what the region should be, with the caveat that I don't think it'll be for a long time. But you will be interested in hopefully watching that. It'll be on the YouTube channel. I've put forward what I think is the strongest name suggestion. Now, I haven't told you that, Coxsmith. Do you have any ideas right now about what you would call the team?
Well, I think it matters where they're going to be based. If it's Toowoomba or if it's Ipswich, I think there's a few different names that you could. This is a question without notice too. Remember, this was. I didn't really have a lot of time to come up with.
You didn't check his WhatsApp, people, but that's all right.
I probably did check my WhatsApp, but it's mostly full of filth usually, and I don't have any time for that. Anybody got time for that?
Yes.
I don't know, mate. You're not going to share with us, though, are you? What your idea is?
Wait for the video. I've given a bunch of genuine suggestions.
A bunch. You just said
a bunch.
You just said you had the best one.
I did have the best one, and then I've got variants off the back of that I think are in the mix. To use a lovely telegraph phrase, but you can hear it from me. This is my view. I just think it's a massive mistake to think about it to happen by 2022. The game, I don't think, is in a place where it can do that. And it's what Phil Gould followed up with PVL when he was talking 100% footy on Monday night, which was, where are the clubs going to be after this year? You know, are you still going to be propping them up? They need more money. And that's been Phil Gould's big thing, is give the clubs more money. And if we're talking about getting a new team, you know, one of the biggest things that's stuffed up a handful of the teams that have come and gone in the last 20 years, or more than that, last 30 years, has been that they've been very much produced for the short term rather than the long term. And we saw the Reds, which is a team that should never have been lost to rugby league, go out within 3 years. The Crushers are out within 3 years. The Rams within a couple. You know, even the Hunter Mariners were only around for 1 year. But, you know, this is the danger in expanding to that level. And the beauty of Brisbane, it's why that the Landis is all about saying we're going to Brisbane, is that he's saying it's a rugby league heartland. The players will be there. But Gould called him up on that, was saying, well, what's the process in how are you going to allocate breeding grounds and all that kind of stuff for players? And it's a real question that I think isn't going to be answered within the next 2 years, which is 2022.
Yeah. Maybe it is a little longer than 2022. But look, I think Volandis is a man that I'm not sure how long he's going to be involved in rugby league. I hope it's a while. I think he's doing a great job. But I think he's more of a, for this anyway, I think he's coming in, he's going to make a bunch of changes and then maybe jump outside the circle and maybe be on the periphery and watch what happens. Not because he's not brave enough to go through with his ideas, but because maybe he thinks that they need a renaissance man in there to change some things and then to get the heck out and let the game build itself, or people within the game build. I'm not sure if that's his idea for starters, and I'm not sure if it is, if it's such a good idea. I'd like to see him in the game for a while. I think he's good. But yeah, there's a lot to going into bringing in a new NRL team, and I don't think that we can make the same mistakes we've made in the past when Super League was around and just have a team around for a year or two. I think we've got to be pretty sure that the team is going to be around to stay for the foreseeable future. You know, I don't think it's very good when a club shuts down from a sponsor, from a corporate level through to a fan level. I don't even really like amalgamated clubs. I do think that there is a club or two that could move from Sydney and move elsewhere, but it still doesn't get past the fact that the 17 doesn't really work for 8 games a week. So it either has to be an expansion by moving a club out of Sydney into somewhere else, and call that an expansion, or it has to be 2 new clubs. We can't have a competition for any more than a year, 2 at the most, where there's a bye every week. It just doesn't sit well, I don't think.
There was a great line in Jurassic Park. It could be 1 or 2, I'm not sure. But Jeff Goldblum, the great character actor that he is, pretty much says, just because you can do it, you never ask the question whether you should do it.
Yeah, but your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
And that's, to me, where I'm thinking with PVL. As great as the stuff he's done, and I've said it on the podcast before, someone likens him very much to a wartime president. You get stuff done when you need it done. And should he keep doing those things just so he can have something to be doing? I don't know. And my gut feel is expansion is a massive mistake this early on, particularly given where Rugby League was 3 months ago, before they threw their hat to the ring with Nine and Fox Sports again for less money over the next 5 years. Money which would have to then be distributed between 17 teams as opposed to 16. Yeah. So you got no names for me? No names at all? Nothing? You haven't got
I could come up with some filthy names, but you don't want that. I could come up with some ludicrous names, but you don't want that. So
No.
I think I'm gonna abstain, mate, from coming up with some names. I mean, what were some that you threw out before you got to your best ones?
No, I'm going to leave it.
You're not going to give us any, even your lamest ones.
Even my lamest ones. All right. The sizzle. Okay, I can guarantee it will not be Firehawks. It's not going to be Firehawks.
It wouldn't be the Fortitude Valley Firehawks.
It's not going to be Firehawks. There's the Queensland Firebirds in the netball, and I don't think that would go down fantastically well, given that's been a very successful team as well. It won't be the Firehawks. I'm going to put it out there, and I also don't think there's going to be a team for a while. We'll be back after the break to talk about our round 7 tips and give you a bit of a view on where we think teams got up to in the last week or so.
If I may, I'll tell you the problem with the scientific power that you're using here. It didn't require any discipline to attain it.
Not the Footy Show.
Okay, we're back. It's episode 217. It's time for some round 7 tipping. 6 from 8 from me last week, Coxsmith, and I got dudded by the Panthers, who I tipped the week before, and they blew a 10-0 lead. They'd not done that against Melbourne, and they got the win. And Canberra on Sunday, which was just well, what word do you want to use? Because I'll agree with every word you use about Canberra's performance last week.
It was dismal. It was dismal, mate. It's Canberra of 5 years ago.
It was.
What did I get? Did you know? Did I end up getting 6 as well?
Well, we didn't do our tips last week, so I have no idea what you got.
Okay, well, I got 8 then.
Naturally. Thursday night, we have the Panthers and the Bunnies, mate. Been moved, I think, from Campbelltown because apparently it's too soft over at Campbelltown. And this is something that you probably have seen in the last few weeks when you've done the games there. Did you get the impression that the surface was a little bit was it overused or overwatered? What's the reasons behind something like that?
It doesn't look bad at all, mate. I don't know. You know, I tend not. If I don't have to, I don't walk across a field. So I can't give you a Warnie pitch report or anything like that. But what I can do is tell you that it looks fine. It doesn't look like it's all torn up. So yeah, I don't know. I can tell you the last 2 or 3 games I've shot there, they've been very, very foggy and steamy, if you know what I mean. The players are steaming with their heat in the cold night air. That's about all I can tell you. But yeah, it's at Thursday night game is at Cogra, correct?
It is. That's a funny one because remember how we got told that they couldn't move any of the games because they'd all been designated as safe zones, and then in the space of a week we've moved everyone again, which is good news because next week they're all going back to home games except for Melbourne, of course, who have a very situation. But we have Panthers coming off a really good win over Melbourne. We have South who have towed up 2 ordinary teams back to back, the Titans and the Warriors. Where are you thinking, Pennies or the Bunnies?
Penrith will win that game, mate. Penrith will win that game.
I'm getting back on the Penrith train, and that means that South will win. But I agree with that. They were the most impressive team of the 2 last weekend. They really withstood a good Melbourne comeback. Melbourne played pretty well in that second half, and it was a good effort from Penrith to win that. And Bunnies, their starting pack is good. The rest of their pack, I don't think too fantastic. They do get James Roberts back, but Bennett has said he will be coming off the bench, and he doesn't even know if he'll get him on the field. So Penrith for me as well. Melbourne up against the Warriors. I think this is also at Jubilee. I think that's where it got moved. I'm not 100% certain on that one, but they're playing the Warriors, who have a new coach. Todd Pate's taken over as the head coach there. Melbourne, they have not looked good this year, apart from the first 2 rounds of the season before the break. They are basically, I sent this message to you as well, I think they're Cam Munster, who's going to be their best player every week, and Cam Smith, who's going to be really, really good every 2 weeks. I don't think he's going to have that same standard every week. And I'm not Cam Smith bashing here. I just think his influence over the game, when he doesn't have the same vast array of quality around him, it just limits the great players. They can't always make the other players who aren't to that level anymore always amazing. He was really good against the Newcastle week before. Had some iffy moments with a less supporting cast. So I'm leaning towards Melbourne, but that's because they're playing the Warriors. It's not because the Storm blew me away last week.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. Melbourne will beat the Warriors. I've said it for the last couple of weeks now, but I've felt it for the last year or so that, since we always knew this was going to happen with Melbourne when they lost Cronk, then Slater. That's a couple of really, really big losses. They've struggled for a halfback since Cronk's departure. They haven't really settled on anyone. They tried, Riley Jackson and Jerome Hughes and Brodie Croft, and none of them really, really made much of an impact. I guess they've been fortunate that at the time Slater and Smith were still there. Now that Slater's gone as well, it's the empire is crumbling a little bit, and they're pretty much a once in a lifetime team to have, the whole kind of Queensland spine in your team.
The one club, yeah.
At the one club. So, but I still think they're a top 8 team. They'll still be a top 8. I have no doubt about that. There are other teams which I'm sure you're about to mention soon that I have doubts about. But
we'll get to the Dragons next, mate.
No, they're moving up the ladder, nice, gently. But yeah, Melbourne for me, mate.
Yeah. The next game actually is the Dragons. They're taking on the Roosters. Mate, I know you're optimistic. I know you've been blasting out some pump-up music from something you may or may not have been involved in a couple of years ago. But the Roosters, they showed us once again that there are good teams out there, namely Parramatta, who got to the lead with 20 to go and celebrated like, hey, we're in front now. Not we've won the game, but hey, we're in front now. And the Roosters, who had just lost to Desco after he got steamrolled by Sivo, just went, yeah, we're better. And over the next 20 minutes, they just blew the Eels, who were the best team in the comp at that stage in terms of the ladder, off the park in the last 20. That was so impressive. And there is no reason whatsoever, even if Teddy doesn't play, that you can honestly entertain the thought that the Dragons are going to win this.
No, I don't think the Dragons will win it, and that's why I'm backing the Roosters. But as I explained to you last week or the week before, I tend not to back the Dragons, and then I get a surprise or a nice result either way. Because if I don't back them, I still win, and if they lose, I win, and if they win, I win. So it's a win-win. I'm backing the Roosters. Does that make sense?
Oh, it's total sense. Yeah, Roosters should be. I think I said within 30 you'll get maybe. On Friday night. Then Saturday we have the Cowboys back up in Townsville. They've got the Knights visiting Newcastle. They've just consistently been okay this year. I wouldn't say they've been outstanding, but they've been playing good football, good defence, and timely attack. Cowboys the last couple of weeks, not so much either of those two.
Yeah, Knights for me, mate. I can't see the Cowboys winning that. There were whispers this week about the Cowboys coach. Did you see that one?
I can't believe people have brought that up. Actually, the Paul Green one's one of those ones that's been around for a while, since effectively even the year Thurston retired. There was a really interesting quote that he gave, which was something about his manager and we're not exploring anything. And I'm like, what? Anyway, but there is certainly pressure on him just from a results point of view. They've won 2 games, but the games they've lost, they've just looked, pretty ordinary. And the only game they actually looked okay and that they lost was probably the Broncos game early on in the season in round 1, I think it was. I'm going Newcastle as well. They should be too good. Brisbane. Now, we did predict, Coxsmith, that when Anthony Seibold, I've mucked it up, Supercoach Seibold declared that they would start the rotation policy that he'd seen at wherever he'd been overseas, that this is how you get through a season. They are 0-4 since that declaration. They are 0-3 since he started donning the Colonel Mustard jacket. It's not going well for Supercoach Seibold, but the schedule makers have delivered him a reprieve because they've got the Titans on Saturday night. They don't have to play on the under the microscope of Thursday night or Friday night football anymore, Coxsmith. They're finally back to where they belong. 5:30 Saturday night, the Brisbane Broncos, the Gold Coast Titans. Are you picking the Broncos?
I have to pick the Broncos because I can never back the Titans. But I'll tell you what, I'll be cheering for the Titans because I don't know. I just love watching people squirm. And Supercoach is definitely squirming a little bit in his mustard attire. at the moment. And I just like watching the flame get turned up every week. So look, I think you'll get a reprieve this week. But whoever they're playing, the Heat will be back on next week, unless they're playing the Warriors or the Cowboys.
I haven't looked it up, to be perfectly honest. But Brisbane, they've replaced a 22 or 23-year-old fullback who was all the talk of rugby league about 18 months ago with a 20-year-old. Yeah, with a 20-year-old fullback who's played about 13 minutes off the bench. That's
who is he?
Everything. Tessie Nui, I think his name is. And they're also thinking about bringing Tom Dearden back in for Anthony Milford. So 3 weeks ago, Supercoach Seabold was at pains to say, look how many games we have in first grade on the field. We can't be expected to win with that. And he's going to possibly bench Milford and Asako for two absolute rookies. So I hope that goes well for you, Supercoach.
Well, you'll be happy to know that the following week in round 8, they're playing the Warriors.
Schedule. They might be following the. Do they have the Panthers after that?
The following week, no, not the Panthers. They've got the Bulldogs.
Oh, gee, three weeks, and okay. If the Broncos win the next 3 games, that means they'll go back up to 5-4, and things will be all right in the world. Supercoach Seabold will be back. The Broncos will be back, and I'm sure by then they'll be back on TV every Thursday or Friday night. Saturday night. Yeah. Sorry,
I was just going to say round 10 they've got the Tigers, and round 11 they've got the Storm. So that's their next 4 games.
You'd want to win at least 3 of those, Supercoach.
They're going to lose 2 of those.
Eels and Raiders Saturday night. Nice matchup if the Raiders were playing decent footy, but they're not. They could turn it around, but I am leaning towards Parramatta because they really just got overrun at the end of the game on Saturday night. They didn't play bad football. In fact, they played pretty well the whole match. Canberra were diabolical against Manly with the ball. They had enough ball to win 3 games of footy there, and they play a team that had 15 players. So I have to go Parramatta, mate.
Yep, I'm with you. Para will win that game, and I think Para, they lost to the Roosters last week, so they'll have a little bit of a dent in their pride. I think they're going to want to get square and get back on the radar, if you know what I'm saying. They could put a score on Canberra.
I'm not quite in that avenue of thought, but I'm also employing your tactic of tipping against my team, so it's win-win. Giddy up! I actually told my nephew that this afternoon. He goes, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Mate, you'll understand one day." Manly up against Cronulla. No Tommy Trbojevic till August. It's New South Welshman. At least he's not missing Origin. That's one upside.
Mm-hmm.
They do get Tapau back. I think Defu is back. It's a big loss though. No Tommy is massive, but the Sharks they beat Canterbury, but it wasn't impressive. I guess I go Manly.
Yep, I think the Sharks looked better with Moylan playing. That's really all I can say about the Sharks. I don't know if the scoreboard really told the story about that game, to tell you the truth. I think the game last week, the game got away from the Sharks a little bit. I don't think it was as bad as the scoreboard would say at 2018. I'm gonna pick.
I'm sensing an upset. Going against Desmond.
No, I know that Tommy's out, but I've got to go Manly. They've got a powerhouse pack, and I think with the aging pack of the Sharks, I think Manly for me.
Just like Canberra last week, this is a golden opportunity for Cronulla to beat Manly. I mean, you look at the hits they've had, Manly, and and Cronulla getting closer to full strength. But yeah, I'm with you, Manly to win. And then Sunday night, I think it's the last Sunday night game we have for a while. It's Bulldogs up against the Tigers. I messaged you. I know I've been on it for 2 weeks, but Kieran Foran looks like the Kieran Foran I remember. He's just playing on a pretty average football side. But there are signs from the Bulldogs last week that they actually play a little bit of football, which was great to see. The Tigers, 34-0 against the Cowboys, but it was the Cowboys. I'm not going to declare that they're back, even though Dan Ganane pretty much said, all the changes that Maguire's made has worked, and what a team. And I'm thinking he made those changes the week before and they couldn't beat Canberra, who scored like 12 points. I got to pick the Tigers here, but Canterbury, I don't mind what I'm saying.
Yeah, look, I still think they've got a bit to go. There's nothing. There's no doubt about the class of Foran, even when he's half fit. He's a very, very good player and has been for a long time. But I think the Tigers will get the job done. I'm on the Tigers for that game, mate.
Indeed. Guess where the Tigers are right now, Coxsmith, just out of interest?
Nowhere where there's a lot of cases of COVID-19, I wouldn't have thought.
I was thinking more on the ladder, but,
Oh. I'd guess they're in 9th.
Dingo dango, well done. And with that insight, and I actually got sent this during the week. People are declaring that this will be the top 8. So it's currently Eels, Knights, Panthers, Roosters, Raiders, Storm, Manly, South Sydney. Now, I'm not going to rule the Tigers out. They're currently in 9th, but I'm going to list you the rest of the teams. Cowboys, Sharks, Dragons, Warriors, Broncos, Bulldogs, Titans. Are there 2 teams in that list that you think can make the 8, or is there only one? Is there none?
In my opinion, there's one team that can make that 8, and that is the Tigers. And if anyone's going to fall out of the 8, I don't know. Not just because they're close together, but I'd say it might be the Rabbitohs. I think they could interchange, but I think it's pretty well. I think that's pretty well set, though. That 1 through 7 is pretty well set. I can't see too much changing about that.
And just for the record, I got no dramas with that. The best teams are the best teams. Have them play in the finals. We'll be back after the break just to wrap things up here on episode 217 of Not The Footy Show.
Not The Footy Show.
How long have we gone for is my last question.
34.
Okay. We'll get down to 40.
Mm-hmm.
Very happy. Look at you, disappointed, mate. You've had dinner. At least you've eaten.
I've still got a surprise segment that I'll be bringing up in a moment, but go on.
Nice. Okay, we're back. It's the last segment here on Not The Footy Show. Well, the last segment. I've just been teased that there's something big coming from the House of Coxsmith very shortly. There are a couple of things that just pop across the news feed on Twitter or Facebook that I just thought are worth sharing. The number one is from Phil Gould. He loves answering fans' questions. Ranger 4413 asked him. He said, the Roosters peaking too early means that teams have most of the season to work out how you beat them. Did you see Gus Gould's reply, Coxsmith?
I did, mate, and I thought it was gold.
He said, yeah. Now, these teams have had 2.5 years to try and work that out. Well done, Gusman. There you go. Desmond and Gusman together. There was another one. Paul Broughton. He was actually, I think, the coach of the Seagulls, the Chargers in the mid-90s. He's well respected in rugby league circles, but he did come up with one this week that I sent you. I think it was today. And yeah, I'm not with you, Paul. This was his tweet this morning. He said, one of the reasons that Queensland NRL clubs are not on the scoreboard /ladder is partly due to state of origin. Normally, we would have completed 2 origin games by now. This would have been the time that fringe Queensland origin players would have been playing out of their heads to be selected for games 1, games 2, games 3. What? Now, I can't repeat what you sent back to me, but what? So the reason that the Titans, the Broncos, and the Cowboys aren't at the top of the ladder is because there's no origin in the middle of the season. Discuss.
Is marijuana legal in Queensland?
I don't know, but wow.
Because someone has been holding onto the bong a little too hard, I would have thought. Look, that's mindless.
And the worst thing was, it was this morning at 9:11 a.m. I mean, it's not a late night tweet.
Put the bong down. He's getting it up too early.
He's had his first coffee or maybe second coffee of the day, and he's come out with this absolute ripper. I mean, the one that came to mind for me was, how many years did we come second in Origin, Coxsmith? 8. Why? Hang on, didn't?
Yeah. Why weren't our players kind of standing up?
I think Manly won the comp a couple of times, but it's just one of those really weird takes. Anyway. The next one that I needed to get to was Freddie Fittler has got a 1-year extension with the New South Wales Blues. Yep. Well done, Freddie. Well deserved. Make it a 3-peat there at the end of the year. James Graham is heading back to St Helens. He is, officially / unofficially, the Dragons still haven't announced it, but St Helens have. They plan to sign him to go back to England. I'm disappointed he's leaving mid-season, I'm going to be honest. But I understand why he's doing it. It's just one of those things where, I think the time's been coming close for him the last few years. And physically, I think it's just he's got so many concussions and we haven't seen the same player. We've seen the desire to be the same player, but not the same player. And it's just your body just fallen down. Yeah, but he's had a great career in the NRL. He didn't arrive in the NRL till he was quite advanced. He was 27 or 28 when he came across. And he was a difference maker when he came in. And you can't say that about many signings, let alone England signings. Really good career in the NRL.
No, mate. I think he's done so well. His enthusiasm and his, he's just tough, just a tough, non-stop player. And you're right. In the last 18 months, 2 years, Father Time's caught up with him. A little bit, probably too much for the NRL, but for the Super League, you probably play another year or two. It is a step below the quality of the NRL for the most part. Maybe not when they get to their big finals and stuff, but look, I think he's been a wonderful servant, probably more so for the Bulldogs than for St George. But I think having a player like James Graham at the club, and St George's results will probably contradict this a little bit, but I think he's the type of player that you have at the club, not just for his on-field performances, but also for his off-field willingness, and he can teach younger players by just his actions at training. So I say good luck to him. I did meet him a couple of times. He's a really nice guy, thank you, and hopefully he comes back to Australia one day, because I think he's a great character as well.
One of the big reasons he also left now was because Luke Thompson had signed with the Bulldogs and got released early. There was an opening there at St Helens, and it just lined up for him. A couple of comments on our YouTube videos. One was from Grant Croxford. He's a frequent flyer now. He did ask, he said, because I did mention last week that the reason Matty Duncan wasn't on last week's show was because he said he didn't watch enough football. So Grant's jumped on this pretty quickly. He said, if I watch more NRL than Matty Duncan this week, can I call in?
Damn right you can, Grant.
Top effort 100%. As ever. So thank you,
sir. Is
that
him calling? Is that him calling?
It is. And then Gary Paskvich has asked us, why not ask Joey Johns to help out Ben Hunt? He has helped others.
Money?
Or already doing this for other clubs.
He's already doing a couple.
Parramatta, isn't he, at the moment? He was at Manly for a couple of years there.
And maybe he doesn't have a relationship with anyone at St George, and look, maybe Ben Hunt has called him. Maybe Ben Hunt hasn't made contact. Maybe there's no relationship there. I'm not too sure.
It's the thing that Baron Grigor has to initiate. Yeah, it's a good question. And finally, news fresh to hand. We're recording at about 7:00 on Wednesday night. But Isaac Moses will appeal his deregistration from the NRL. Are you shocked?
No,
not at all. But we have a shocking twist here on Not The Footy Show. There is another segment. Now
there is. Now this is something that look. This is something that I know you probably. This is totally without notice. You'll probably roll your eyes, but seeing as I mentioned before, my video feed's gone off. I can't see you rolling your eyes, so it won't affect me. I wanted to just mention something about Origin, just a little thing, okay, for this week. And you caught my attention before when you started to talk about Tommy T. He's going to be out for 8 to 12 weeks, they say.
Yep.
All right, that's quite a long time. Let's just say let's be hypothetical and zoom this forward, and let's say there was 2 weeks to go before the grand final, and Tommy's done his hammy again and can't play Origin. What would you do as a coach? Would you? I'm being hypothetical here, but would you put Whiten at right centre, or would you bring in another player like Latrell? Maybe. I mean, given where we are today, but let's pretend we're 10 weeks down the track. What would you do?
Well, your halves are going to be Keary and Cleary, which is going to be really hard to say back to back when they pass to each other. Cleary off to Keary, off to Whiten. It doesn't sound that bad. Whiten will be in the team if he's fit. because of the job he did last year, but he played left centre. Latrell is a left centre.
Yes.
Who scored a very nice try on the right against the Titans a couple of weeks ago. I don't think there's any doubt that you bring in Latrell if his mind's in the right spot, because he was part of the mix. And you'd like to think that 12 plus months out of Origin and a full season playing the position that you want to play might change your viewpoint on the value of playing Origin, of being amongst players like that. That to me is the one that makes the most sense. I don't like leaving out players with his ability, and if he's in the game and he wants to be there, then I don't think you entertain any other thought. And there are probably some really good options that will come to mind. I mean, but I just think it's the best mix. And I guess the biggest question from my point of view then is Blake Ferguson going to hold on to his right wing spot?
Look, I was going to tail out this little segment with that. Let's pretend for one moment that Latrell does play there and Whiten plays on the other side. I suggest is what you're saying. Who are your wingers? Who's your left and your right winger?
Well, Addo Carr hasn't exactly set the world on fire to start this year. He's got plenty of time to do that. It's a really interesting question. Poor old Nick Kotrick's getting no ball at the Raiders once again, so I can't see how he can put his hand up. I know that Freddie loves him, and he probably would pick him, but he's got to get some of that ball. He's got to start showing those things that he's got that aren't just rucking it out of your own end, and that speaks for a lot of wingers out there at the moment, if I'm honest. That's a big issue. It's it's one of those things where you take out one of those key players, in this case Tommy Trbojevic, and the whole mix kind of goes out, doesn't it?
100%. And look, I think Ferguson, given what we've seen early this year, I think he could really put his hand up to be in the mix, and I think he spent enough time away from it to be back in the mix, if you like. But I really like the look of Daniel Tupu, to be honest with you. I think he's playing better.
He should have been. I thought he should have been there last series.
Yeah, I think he's playing better now than he did when he made Origin a few years back. That one player possibly being out, and you never know with Tommy. I really hope he is there because I think the team, would be good to have as many players as you could back, as long as they deserve their position, and Tommy certainly does. I just thought I'd throw a hypothetical at you there, mate. So for yours at the moment,
I'm stoked for talking Origin in June. I mean, when does that ever happen?
Exactly. So for yours at the moment, Keary and Cleary. Sorry, Cleary and 7, Keary and 6.
It's not a question. That will be it. And anybody suggesting anybody else, barring injury, and I honestly reckon even if the the Roosters will be there at the end of the year, but even if the Panthers don't make the finals, I just cannot see Freddie not picking him, because he gives him exactly what he wants. And he says it's not always about the big players; it's about other things that he does. And he says that Cleary is number one in those categories for him. I mean, I'll go on record here. I think Parramatta could win the. Sorry, I couldn't finish the sentence. I can't say it, but they could do really well. And I don't think Mitchell Moses would be in the halves if Cleary and Keary are both healthy. Keary would have been the guy this last series if he hadn't have knocked himself out 3 times in like the space of 2 weeks.
Yeah. Oh well, that's good. Let's drop it there, and we will talk more about Origin every single week.
Cannot wait till October when it's going to be all Origin all the time. There'll be some sort of final series happening, but Coxsmith will be saying, we're starting with Origin. New South Wales, number 7. No, New South Wales 18th man. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah. And New South Wales' media officer, I'm putting my hand up for Buzz Rothfield. I think he should be the media officer this year for the Blues.
Imagine the unbridled access that Buzz would give if he was in that position. He would be saying, you can talk to this guy, you can talk to this guy.
Oh, yeah, he'd be very open and honest about everything. It's fantastic.
Anyway.
By the way, just quickly on Buzz Rothfield, did you read Phil Gould's description of Buzz Rothfield on Twitter a few weeks ago?
I don't recall seeing it. What did he say?
Well, I don't have it here in front of me, but I'll find it. Give me 10 seconds of dead air music, mate, or something.
I can do that.
Please. Here we go.
I've run out of things to do.
Yeah, okay. Now, I don't know how many tweets. I don't know how many tweets Gus has done recently, but this was
you can't go through Gus's feed and hope to find that tweet, sir.
I will find it.
I'm pretty sure I put it on the. Didn't I put it on the Not the Footy Show Facebook page?
I don't know. Have you got it there?
You want me to look it up? You want to start singing so I don't have to sing any longer?
I'm not singing anymore, but I'll put a bit of music on if you want. Hold on. Ready? You ready for it?
He's been waiting.
Isn't this great music? You enjoying this? Let me know when you found the tweet.
It's changing my life.
This is a good podcast, this, ladies and gents. This is just to find a little something
I've got
to...
it. Mate, I've got it. I mean, you know you can rely on me. Didn't say this on the podcast last time? You just wanted to...
I don't know, but read it again because I just think it's brilliant.
All right. Adam Wise loves it. Asked, Phil Gould, would love to hear your thoughts on Buzz Rothfield. Not as a bloke, but as a journalist. He has a huge following and seems to get away with writing non-football related articles quite often! ! Phil Gould, wonderful man, highly popular, great asset to the game of rugby league. Honest, integrity is unquestioned. You can trust every word he says. Our game would be lost without him. That was a Delta Goodrum song, wasn't it? Probably should rename the Dalian Medal in his honour. And with that, Phil Gould, you can take us out on episode 217 of Not the Footy Show. That is poetry, my friend.
Absolutely.
You know how those keep calm and carry on things that people have in their houses?
Yeah.
I reckon true rugby league fans should have that quote from Phil Gould tapestrized. You know the word I'm looking for? I could repeat it again, but I won't. Okay, I will. No, our game would be lost without him. That's just...
The game would be lost without him. That quote should, like you said, be done in a large tapestry, and next to it, in a frame, should be that photo that's doing the rounds or has done the rounds of Twitter with Buzz Rothfield with a woman sitting on his lap in lingerie when he was at some footy function or some journalist function a number of years ago.
What a classic. Anyway, I've been Warrick Nicolson. That's been Rob Cox. That's been a shorter Not the Footy Show. Although the origin question pushed us out to past 40 minutes. I'm not happy about that. But these things will happen. Please look out for my video on Brisbane's second team name that I am putting up on youtube.com/W Nicolson in the next couple of days. Hopefully you enjoy that. You know the backstory now in regards to where I think how soon it'll happen. I don't think it will happen soon. But the name, they've got to get it right. And they've got to do some other things. There's 3 things they've got to get right when they come up with a team name for that side. Mate, pleasure as always. I will get to editing this thing. Hopefully we get it out before midnight tonight. Enjoy doing the football this weekend. Any games this weekend, or are you out go-karting again, mate?
I am this weekend. I've got 3 games, mate. I'm doing the game tomorrow night on Thursday night at Jubilee. I'm doing a game at Bankwest on Friday night, I think. Am I? I don't know. I just know what... I just know where I'm shooting on. I'm shooting.
Hang on, let the skipper steer us back on course here. You're probably doing Roosters Dragons on Friday at Bankwest.
Yes, I am.
You've either got Bulldogs Tigers Sunday night or Eels Raiders Saturday night.
Saturday night, Eels Raiders. So 2 games at Bankwest, 1 at Jubilee.
Beautiful.
Cool.
You can get Rob at ROBBCOX on Instagram and Twitter. I'm at NRL Tweet on Twitter. We're on Facebook.com/NRL Podcast. Would love another review on iTunes or wherever you want to tell people that you might actually listen to this tripe. And we will speak to you next time on Not the Footy Show. Take us away with the outstanding way you finish every episode, Coxsmith. Do it.
Yeah, mate. No worries. Well, I'm going to go now and have a Pepsi.
Not the Footy Show.
The point is, just let me do my job here, okay? You've interfered when I was at the Broncos hugely, and the same thing's happening here. And as I said, I stayed true to the Broncos. I got the sack there. I didn't leave that club. And, I'm here doing the best I can at this club, and you guys start, stirring the pot again about where I could be and what I could be doing and everything else. Just let me do my job, will you?
It's people's escape. It's people's relaxation. And we need to do everything in order to continue that great tradition of
Not the Footy Show.
Pepsi.